When it comes to your grocery budget, time is money. You pay for convenience, but that doesn't mean that to save money, you have to spend hours in the kitchen making everything from scratch. I'm going to share with you my simple tips to save both time and money. DIYing everything is the cheapest. That is the best way to save a bunch of money. But for most of us, that's not realistic at all. I don't even do that. And my whole thing is about saving money on your grocery bill, right? But I don't DIY everything. One of my key points in my guide with all the secrets, the rules I followed that help me cook dinner 7 nights a week and save on my grocery budget without losing my mind. One of my key points in there is finding balance between your budget and reality. So what I recommend and what I do myself, and I don't lose my mind spending hours and hours and hours in the kitchen, I find what makes the most sense to DIY and what makes the most sense to splurge on. So this is going to be a little bit different for everyone. It depends on your style of cooking, the type of food you cook, your lifestyle, the amount of people in your family, all those sorts of things. So I'll share a few things that work for me, what I choose to spend money on, and where I choose to save, and the simple DIYs I do. Simple things I always DIY is sauces. So I make a lot of stir fries because they're really easy, and I'll get to that in a second. But I DIY the sauces because a lot of times it's just pouring it all into, I use mason jars. I keep like marinara sauce jars because that's not something I DIY. Actually, I do make my own spaghetti sauce, but that's a different story. But I keep those jars, and that's what I usually use to make a sauce. And sometimes I even make it ahead of time. I've talked about this a blue million times, but I eventually am going to release a product called the mini prep method, where I talk about that I prep components of dinners ahead of time to make it easier to get it done in the busy evenings, but not the point. I will sometimes make a sauce ahead of time in those jars and like put the lid on it and just shake it up when I'm about to throw it into the skillet. But even when I'm just making it right then, I will pour all the sauce ingredients in, whisk it up, pour it into the saucepan with whatever meat is cooking. And it doesn't take any extra time because the meat, or even the veggies if I'm making a meatless stir fry, they're cooking. Like, you're spending that time waiting for that to cook anyway, so why not save money by DIYing the sauce for your stir fry or what have you. It doesn't have to be a stir fry. Sheet pan meals, all sorts of things call for different sauces, and when you DIY that sauce, you save money. A pre-made sauce is what I would refer to as a convenience ingredient. It is something that is done for you for your convenience, and anytime you pay for convenience, you're paying more. So pre-chopped veggies, pre-made sauces, anything where half the work or all the work is done for you, you're gonna pay more. So I don't buy like pre-chopped onion, pre-chopped tomato, pre-chopped anything, because for one thing, it starts to lose its like quality the instant it's chopped. I also just find it not that hard to do. Again, I'll start something cooking already on the skillet, and then I'll chop something. But also, things like onions, I will chop all at once and freeze, or if it's something like red onion, I'll throw that in the refrigerator and just have it ready to go. Again, another thing that I will do a little bit ahead of time, have that ready to go as part of like my mini prep method, as I was saying. Another thing that I always DIY myself is my side dishes for dinner. So you can buy a lot of things pre-made, pre-prepped. I will buy like bagged salads because actually when it comes to like all the toppings for salad, it's probably more expensive to buy those yourself. So every once in a while I will plan a super simple meal, which is also one of the ways I manage to cook dinner every night of the week, is by having at least one super simple meal each week. And then if I have just a really crazy day and I don't feel like making what I thought I was going to make that night, I'll swap in that super simple meal. I talk about that in this video where I share every way I save money on groceries. That is one of the ways I do it, is by just having super simple meals. And that's one of the ways I cook at home 7 nights a week, is by having that super simple meal option. How many times can I say that tongue twister? So that's one of the ways, is by always having super simple sides. I will make rice in the rice cooker, quinoa in the rice cooker. I buy these boxes of couscous at Aldi, so I keep my grains or starch or whatever that is. I keep those super simple. And then we eat roasted from frozen vegetables almost every night of the week also. So if I don't have a fresh veggie like bell peppers, mushrooms, zucchini, things like that, I do cook from fresh. Bonus tip, the way I cook fresh things and don't waste them, prevent them from going bad, is I prioritize cooking those first. I talk a lot about how people may dislike meal planning because they think it forces them into making a certain meal every day or a certain meal on certain days, and there's no flexibility. Not true. Think of your meal plan more as like a list of dinner options, and you can plug them into which day you choose, with a little caveat of you do need to use up your fresh ingredients first. But I will use up the fresh ingredients first couple of days after going to the grocery store. I can still mix them around for whatever I'm feeling like that day. But then the rest of the time we are having frozen veggies, and that's saving me money because I'm not having produce go bad. But also it's super easy to throw frozen veggies onto a sheet pan, put some oil on it. I use high heat oil because you roast it at high heat. So I use avocado oil and then salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powders, throw it in the oven. Super easy. Cook the rest of your dinner. Maybe it goes in the oven too, maybe it's on the stovetop, whatever. But keeping my side dishes super simple is one of the ways that saves me my sanity when I make dinner every night and have a toddler. So just DIYing those side dishes is really easy, and it's super cheap to make those things from scratch. I mean, you're just roasting veggies, you're not really even doing anything to them. But making those from scratch is really easy, and those are much cheaper than any pre-made sides. This last one might be surprising that it's really easy, but I have started DIYing lunch meat. So if you ever go to the deli counter at the grocery store and buy fresh lunch meat, you know it's pretty expensive. Like, it's not cheap. But I have discovered that you can buy a frozen turkey breast and throw it into the oven frozen, cook it from frozen, and then slice it up, and there's your lunch meat. And it's really cheap. It is so much cheaper per pound than that deli made. Again, the convenience, the work is done for you, and slicing it super thin if you like super thin lunch meat, that can be a little tricky. You might have to buy some sort of contraption to do that for you. We like the thick cut lunch meat anyway, so really easy for us to do ourselves. But yeah, I recently discovered that that is an easy swap to DIYing that saves me money. I also try to make a lot of snacks and baked goods homemade, but again, finding the balance between what is realistic for me to DIY when I'm not I don't want to say I'm not a very good baker. Baking is not my forte. It's not my favorite. I like cooking savory meals because I can just wing it. I don't have to follow a recipe specifically. When you bake, you have to follow a recipe specifically. And I'm not making like sourdough bread. I know a lot of people have been doing that since COVID, but that is not one of the things I DIY. But I will DIY like muffins, sweet treats, like brownies, things like that, where even if you use a box rather than buying fresh brownies, it's going to be a lot cheaper. And I really, on my list is starting to make my own brownie mix, and we'll do that eventually. But I also will choose, and this is going to be in one of my upcoming videos about how to buy fewer groceries to spend less money. That's the number one way to spend less money at the grocery store, is to buy less, obviously. But how do you do that? Be sure to subscribe to see that upcoming video. But one of the ways I do that is I determine one snack, one or two snacks, breakfast? One or two snacks, breakfasts, and snacks a week. Sometimes I DIY them, sometimes I don't. I buy pre-made hummus. I could DIY that. That's not a priority. Again, finding that balance. Then what do I choose to splurge on? My main splurge in every grocery trip is a backup dinner, a backup convenience dinner. So I will buy a frozen dinner to keep in my freezer for the times where I'm like, I am just not cooking today. I know it is not happening. And we still eat at home. We eat at home 7 nights a week. We still eat at home even when I don't feel like cooking because I have those backup dinners on hand. Those are like key for helping me eat dinner at home 7 nights a week. And that's gonna be the title of another upcoming video, how I eat dinner, how I cook dinner at home. Cook dinner at home 7 nights a week. I say cook because again, I use those backup meals. But I hope you found this video helpful. This is a shorty. These are very short, easy to apply, simple tips. That is what my channel is about. It's giving you simple, practical, realistic ways to save money on groceries. Be sure to go check out this video, or maybe I'll link it here at the end of the video. Check out this video about how being realistic is the #1 way to save money on your budget.